Hello, everyone. My name is Sarafi, and I'm happy to meet you all. And today, I'm going to teach you how to play Kuriboh. Now, you might think, what? And, huh? Trust me, this deck is incredibly based. So, the idea of Kuriboh is you get your Kuriboh out, you play Multiply, you get a bunch of tokens, and then you link them all off, and you start making crazy plays. The deck is facilitated by the skill Kuriboh Morph. And the reason why I like Kuriboh is because the skill really tests the limits of what you can do as a player. So this deck is really difficult to play. It's really difficult to win with. And a lot of it is just making the right combination of link cards. I've changed this extra deck multiple times. I'm not sure even now that this is the right combination of extra deck cards because you have to think about whether they allow tokens, whether they require cards that have different names, what their effects are, and what arrows they point with. So I'm going to recommend the extra deck that I have here. It's won me a game or two, but you guys should definitely experiment with this if you want to play this deck and try and find the best extra deck for this. Now, the skill is called Kuriboh Morph. Select one Kuriboh monster in your hand or in your main monster zone and change it into one of the following Kuriboh monsters, only once per duel. You can choose Kuriboh, Sphere Kuriboh, Relink Kuriboh, or Clear Kuriboh. Now, when I told you guys that this skill tested your ability as a player, this is what I'm talking about. So, I found out while I was playing this deck that this skill works on tokens. So here's what you can do. It's crazy. If you have two copies of Multiply and either Kuriboh or Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, you can play Kuriboh, activate Multiply, get your 3 Kuriboh tokens, link them however you want to make sure that you have like one Kuriboh token left and then a monster in the extra monster zone, probably either Wee Witch's Apprentice or Space Insulator. Then you activate the skill, change the last Kuriboh token back into Kuriboh, and you can multiply again to get 3 more tokens. That gives you 5 monsters for just 1 normal summon and 2 cards from your hand. 5 monsters. It's insane. So, you've seen all these cards before, but I'll go through them really quick. Sphere Kuriboh, I only have 1 copy of this card. It might be worth running more than 1, but I really don't know. I think it's fine with just the 1. You could discard this card to change a monster's battle position when it attacks you. It's fine. Wing Kuriboh, you can special summon this from the deck with Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, so it's a fantastic option. A lot of your turn 1s are going to be setting this guy in passing, because when he's destroyed on the field, you take no battle damage for the rest of the turn. Obviously, if your opponent doesn't know what's in your field and they attack into it, uh, now they're in their battle phase. They can't really play around it anymore. So it does often win you the game, especially if you summon it off of Flute of Summoning Kuriboh as opposed to just setting it face down. Then we have Kuriboh. During your opponent's turn at damage calculation, you can discard this card. You take no battle damage from that battle. So this doesn't just work on direct attacks. Anytime that a monster is attacked, anytime that you would take damage, you discard this card, you take no damage. Then we have Book of Moon. Quick effect, target one face-up monster on the field, turn it face down. This will help you survive. The Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. Add 1 Kuriboh or 1 Wing Kuriboh from your deck to your hand, or special summon 1 Kuriboh or 1 Wing Kuriboh from your deck. This will allow you to survive attacks, get through your opponent's turn, or set up your multiplies. Fantastic card. It's free, running at a 3. Enemy Controller. When any deck that makes tokens will make use of Enemy Controller, just tribute one of your tokens, steal one of your opponent's monsters. Now you don't have to get rid of that monster, and you can also use it to attack your opponent directly. Will often give you lethal in weird situations. Multiply, the backbone of this deck. Tribute 1 face-up Kuriboh. Has to be Kuriboh. Special summon as many Kuriboh tokens in defense position as possible. These tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. Really wasn't an option to use them as fusion material. Obviously, ritual summoning, not that great. And you can't Xyz summon with tokens. You could use them as synchro material, but it filled up your board and none of them were tuners. So, not really any uses for Multiply before links came to the game. Now that links are in the game, it's fantastic. Last up, we have Crackdown. This card is fantastic just because it allows you to get more link materials on your field. You should definitely run this card at 3. All right, for the extra deck, I have Link Kuriboh. This is a Link 1 that requires a level 1 monster, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card, change that opponent's monster's attack to 0 until the end of the turn, and if this card is in your graveyard, you contribute one level 1 monster to special summon this card once per turn. It's important to note that Winged Kuriboh has to be destroyed for its effect to activate. So you can't tribute Winged Kuriboh during your opponent's turn to summon Link Kuriboh and then activate Winged Kuriboh's effect to make sure you don't die. Winged Kuriboh has to be destroyed. We also have Nightmare Phoenix and Nightmare Cerberus. When these cards are Link summoned, you can discard a card to target a special summon monster in the main monster zone or a spell or trap on your opponent's field and destroy it, and then if this card was co-linked, you draw a card. Now, it's important to note, both of these cards do not have an arrow that points down. So if you Link summon this card in the extra monster zone, you will have to use this card as Link material the next time you Link summon, because you don't have any zones that either of these cards point to, which is part of what I was saying about how it's really difficult to actually choose the extra deck for this deck. Witch's Apprentice, this just requires 2 Dark Monsters, so you can use it with 2 Winged Kuriboh tokens. It gives all your Dark Monsters 500 attack and defense, and if this card on the field is destroyed, you can target a Dark Monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which will get you back your Kuriboh. Space Insulator just requires 2 monsters, and monsters this card points to lose 800 attack and defense. It has an effect, but that doesn't matter. It just requires 2 monsters. It can be made with tokens, and it points down, so it will set up some good plays for you. Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior, this requires 2 or more Link monsters, so you have to make this with a Link 2 and Link Kuriboh. If this card is Link summoned, draw cards equal to the number of World Chalice monsters this card points to. Not going to happen. Once per turn, you can send 1 card from each player's field to the graveyard. Since you have so many spells and traps, you can easily make this, then set a spell or trap, send your opponent's card to the graveyard, and attack them directly. Nightmare Unicorn, same thing as Ningirsu, really. Discard a card and target a card on the field and shuffle it back into the deck. Nightmare Unicorn is better for situations where you don't want the card in the graveyard, or you can't set the card on the field because it's a monster. And Ningirsu is better for situations where you can't target the other opponent's monster. The last card in the extra deck is Rostalager. Link 4 requires 2 monsters, except tokens, so just make 2 Link 2s and you can make this. You can target 1 Link monster in either graveyard. This card gains attack equal to that target's attack until the end of the turn. Get this out. Use Nightmare Unicorn as one of the materials, and you will be able to attack your opponent directly and win the game. Okay, let's take a look at the replay. Our opponent is on a 5-game win streak with Relinquished. Normal summon Golden Eyes Idol and check our hand. He activates Polymerization and fuses into Thousand Eyes Restrict. Very interesting. And he sets 1. Now we have our Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, which will allow us to bring out a Kuriboh or a Winged Kuriboh, but we don't have any other monsters, so we don't really have any good Link plays right now. So we're just going to set 3 and pass. Our opponent ends their turn. We're going to go ahead and steal their monster. They activate Relinquished Fusion in response, so now we have a locked trap zone, which sucks, but we will just take it again. We link that off into our Link Kuriboh, and we drew Multiply, which is fantastic. So now we Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, Special Summon Kuriboh from deck, Multiply. Link 2 of them off into our Witch's Apprentice. And then we activate our skill to change the last Kuriboh token into not a token so that we can make our Rostalager. Of course, I miss lethal here. If I had made Nightmare Unicorn first, I would have been able to kill my opponent. But that's fine. We attack directly for 3,400 and we pass. Our opponent immediately Black Illusion Rituals. Summons out the Relinquished, and I go ahead and Book of Moon that immediately because he's going to get his Millennium Eyes Illusionist back. We don't have lethal. We need anything. Winged Kuriboh! Our Winged Kuriboh destroys his ace monster in battle, and then we attack directly for game. There you go. That's the Kuriboh deck in action at King of Games. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.